couple videos just talking about important timing. All right, so first of all, dogs are really good with associative learning, meaning they're great at learning that event A or thing A leads to thing B, which leads to thing C. When they see these consistent patterns in their life, and then they make all kinds of behaviors around that, right? Our dogs know that when we pick up their food bowl, that frequently leads to us, filling the food bowl, and that leads to them getting to eat, and it's a chain of events. Dogs are also really good, especially when they have all of their senses, at kind of figuring out what's going on even when the humans are not clear with those patterns. So humans are confusing. So if A usually leads to B and leads to C, with humans, sometimes A leads to C and then to B. Or with one human, it's A, B, and C, and the other is A, C, B. And they're pretty good at kind of, figuring out what we want. When we're dealing with a dog who doesn't have one of their sensory components here, they're going to have a little bit harder time making up for just our natural mistakes. And that makes it a little bit more important that we are precise, that our timing is good, and that we really are communicating effectively with our dog. So we want to make sure our patterns are really consistent and really the same every time, and that we've got really good timing between event A, which in this case we're going to be talking about event A being a cue that we're teaching, and event A is going to be followed by something, right? And it's always going to be followed by the same something, and we're going to use that to create some sort of cues that are just going to be taught by association. So some of those, for example, are the cues for signaling that we're going to touch her body. So we talked about a cue such as harness or collar, a general one that just says touch or means touch. I'm going to touch you. We can use a cue when we're getting to the end of the leash and we're about to hit our bungee. I frequently use easy. We also talked about naming a couple of different enrichment games and having really clear names that each of these games mean different things. And we're going to get into those in just a second as well. So first I'm going to try to pry my crazy border collie off the toy that he's playing with over here to see if he wants to do a little demo with me on how this might look. All right, so the really important thing when we are creating these cues with this associative learning is our timing and how we say our cue. So I'm going to show you what that looks like using Chappie in a second here. But the really important thing is we're going to say the word that we're trying to teach Lucy what it means. We are going to pause for a second. And then we are going to do whatever action that word predicts. There has to be a little tiny pause between the spoken word and the action, or the spoken word gets overshadowed in the dog's brain. So, for example, playing around with those cues like harness and collar and things like that. Let me see if I can show you that timing on Chappie, if I can get my angles right. Let's see. You ready to work for me for a minute, Chap, and be on film? And let's see. Okay, so I've got Chappie here, and we're going to work on teaching him this collar cue. Ready, buddy? Nice job. Okay, so I'm going to say the word the same way every time, pause, and then I'm going to touch the collar. And in his case, I might actually give him a treat as well because he's actually a little funny sometimes about his collar handling. So here we go. Collar. I'll give him a treat afterwards again because I want him happy about this handling. Collar. Good boy. Do it with my other hand as well. Collar. Good boy. If I was doing a basic, touching the body, now my dog has some of these cues I'm going to change for my dog because he already knows them, but it could be pet, right? When I might say pet, and then put my hand on his body in any particular place. Pet. I know, yeah. Good boy. You can have a treat for that one. Very good. Pet. Good boy. With Lucy, I don't think you have to feed treats unless you feel like she's finding this nerve-wracking, right? If there's any anxiety around it, right? Pet. Good boy. Nice job. But the most important thing is that we say that word the same way every time, right? Collar. Touch the collar. Good boy. And with enough practice, you'll start to see that anticipation. So if I keep doing this with Chappie, which maybe I will if I'm being a good dog trainer, if I keep doing this with Chappie, what I should start to see in a handful of sessions here is that when I say the word collar, he sort of turns his head or makes a movement that shows me that he knows what's coming next. It might take a little bit because it's brand new. Collar. But you're looking for some sign that he understands, or Lucy understands, that when you say harness, you're going to reach and hold her harness. And when we're doing our games, when you say, touch, you're going to touch her body in a certain place. When you are walking on the leash and you're trying to teach the easy cue, you're going to say easy a couple steps before she hits the bungee, so she gets a chance to hear the word easy and then have that be followed by this pressure that she can now feel on her harness, and she will learn that the word easy means she should slow down or she's going to run into this pressure. So importance of timing when creating these new association words. And with her, we're focusing on a cue that means we're going to touch your harness, cue that means we're going to touch your body, a easy cue of some kind that means, we're about to hit the end of the leash, and any other, body cues that you want.